Julia here from Little Shop of Nerds, and I am with...
Mike, what's up?
Yeah, so last week's hit was Snidget. So we are going to be talking about my favorite thing in the whole entire world, which is we're doing a comparison between book one and the first movie of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, or if you were raised in the United States, it's Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. So, as a lot of you know, I am definitely a big Harry Potter fan. Have been since I was like 13. So, Mike actually just started listening to the books for the first time. So, and I am excited that he has now joined us book readers for the series. Got anything to say, Mike? Okay, so let's get into it. So the books and the movies, the first movie I think was probably the most accurate of the books, I think.
Well, mostly, but don't forget, with books, you need more detail to make the story go along. When you're doing a movie, you have to shorten it for timing, pacing, and budget constraints, I guess. And also, if you do a shot-by-shot play, you don't know if it's going to be good or boring, because I can give an example. If you're a Stephen King fan out there, if you ever seen The Shining, the movie or the miniseries they did in the 90s, I think, they pretty much followed the book from the original story that Stephen King did. And let's just say the miniseries wasn't so great. So it just depends on the medium. So when this new show comes out, hopefully they'll try to put a little more essence in the book to it. You know, like okay, if you get to the point of the first scene, you see Professor Dumbledore, Professor McGonagall, waiting for Hagrid. You know, he's using this the what is it called?
The Deluminator.
The Eliminator, and pretty much taking out the lights, pretty much under cover of darkness, waiting for Hagrid to bring Harry.
Yeah.
But in the book, it explains more who Mr. Dursley is.
Yeah, it explains how the Dursleys are, because a lot of people, so there is a theory that, because I mean, pretty much everybody knows the story about Harry Potter. So they know about the Horcruxes. So, if you've been living under a rock and you've never seen the book, or you've never read the books, or you've never seen the movie, Harry has a Horcrux inside of him, which we will actually get to much later on as we do this series. But a lot of people were trying to say that the reason why the Dursleys were so horrible to Harry every time that he visited, or he was home or whatever, was because of the Horcrux. But this first scene, this first chapter in the book, proved that they were just horrible people.
Yeah.
They are 100% horrible people. It has nothing to do with the Horcrux.
And it's true. Pretty much the whole chapter was how Mr. Dursley was going about his day. He thought he saw strange people wearing pretty much witch and wizards, celebrating because Voldemort was dead and everyone was excited. He wasn't. He pretty much a grouch and an asshole, and pretty much hoping that the day would gone better. But then after that, that's when we see Professor McGonagall and Professor Dumbledore talking about the situation with Harry.
Yeah, because they brought up Professor McGonagall in her cat form, waiting for Dumbledore to show up with Harry or finding out what's going on. But that's definitely something that they should have kept in the movies, was they should have left that in there, because that's such a good scene that just sets everything up. Because then he does bring this up to Petunia about, you have a nephew, right? And she's just like, why are you bringing up my nephew for? And he's all like, oh, just funny people, I thought that maybe they were like part of her crowd. So right there, that just kind of sets up that there's something weird going on. And as this book, the movies definitely did change some things, and I do not like it. But then there are some things where it's just kind of like, okay, yeah, that's pretty accurate. So we do the first scene, and then, here we are 10 years later, and Harry is getting woken up by his Aunt Petunia to cook breakfast, which happened in the book. Then, the zoo thing, though, was different because Dudley had a friend come with him.
Yes, that was the different part because that was the different part because in the book Dudley did have a friend go with him and they were pretty much being dicks, brats,
Yeah.
And pretty much also with the snake is different because in the movie you just hear as thanks, but in the book it was thanks Basil, here I come.
Yeah.
That's a slight minor detail, but not too big, but it could have been a little something.
Yeah. And so then I think it cuts straight to his birthday in the movie.
Not before. It wasn't his birthday yet. It was.
Oh, that's right. He was getting his letters.
Now this was different because if you pay attention to the movie, it will tell you Harry's address, and it'll also say underneath the cupboard underneath the stairs. Now in the book, it shows Harry since Uncle Dursley and Petunia knew the Hogwarts letters were coming. They had to, since they stay underneath the stairs, they decided, no, we can stop this by moving him into Dudley's spare bedroom. Now, that comes into the second movie when he sees in his Dudley's spare bedroom. But in the book, he's already in there.
Yeah. So, there is a scene, like, when his letters first start arriving, he walks into the kitchen, and, because I don't think they mention this in the movies, but they definitely mention it in the books, that the Dursleys do not like Harry to ask questions. So, he walks into the kitchen, and Petunia she is dyeing some of Dudley's old clothes to wear to go to this local public high school or middle school or some sort of public school. And I guess they wear gray. I don't know. But, Harry's just like, oh, I don't want to wear those. So when the letters arrive, Vernon tells Dudley, go get the mail. And he's like, make Harry do it. And then he tells Harry to go get the mail. And then Harry says, make Dudley do it. And then Vernon tells Dudley to hit him with his walking stick, or his smelting stick. Now, Dudley is going to a private boarding school that Vernon went to called Smeltings. And the description of his outfit is absolutely, like, I don't see any of it working. Mike, if you want to keep talking about that, I'll pull it up.
Well, here's the thing. It is true about the outfit. And what she said is true. It's in the book. But they did do it for the movie, but you can only watch it on a deleted scene.
Yeah, you see it in a deleted scene.
And that's one thing that the movies did do, because if you watch it on TV, which people just streams nowadays. But either way, back then when they did show it on TV, they would show the deleted scenes too. And they would show that scene. There's even more parts of the book they did that they didn't put left in the movie that was from the book. But it's true, the outfit is horrible. Harry gets the letter. Dudley takes the letter, which both in the book. But here's one thing that's different from the book and the movie. When Aunt Petunia and Uncle Vernon look at the letter, see what it is, they go to the other room, lock the kitchen door, whatever. Dudley and Harry are trying to listen. They're fighting over it. Then, after they were done talking, opens the door, they fall, and Vern's mad at Harry because he's getting the letters.
Yeah. So I do not have reception here, Mike's.
Maybe because you're not hooked up to the Wi-Fi.
So nothing is loading for me.
Maybe we should just try to...
Well, where's your phone, Mike? We'll use your phone. Because you're connected to the internet here.
Well...
Look up Smelting's uniform. So, yeah,
How do you spell that?
SME...
SME...
LTINGS. We should at least get some sort of description for it. Just bear with us for a moment.
I think I got this. Here we go.
Okay, so there's pictures. There's a picture of it.
Maybe we should just try to...
So, but I was looking for the description of it because that was completely different. So yeah, the school uniform includes a maroon tailcoat, orange knickerbockers, a straw boater hat, and a smelting stick. This cane-like stick is used by students for hitting each other and is ironically presented as good training for later life. Dudley's father, Vernon, also attended Smeltings, suggesting it's a family tradition. Smeltings is likely located in the southeast of England, as Dudley is described as the junior heavyweight inter-school boxing champion of the southeast. So we don't get into that until I think like the third book. I think
more like fourth book,
something like that.
Fifth book, remember?
Yeah, so the friend that was going with them to the zoo is also going to the school with Dudley.
Yeah.
Okay, so then that's when all the letters start to arrive. So I do think in the movie, the deleted scene shows where Petunia was opening up eggs and all she was getting was the letters. Because Vernon just started going a little crazy trying to keep all of this from happening.
And it's true.
And you can't fuck with magic.
No. And, they did everything, blocking the mail slot, trying to ignore it. Then letters came out everywhere, which, flooded the house with letters. So Vernon had the idea, let's just go so they won't find us. Mm-hmm. Didn't work. In the book, it explains more what they did. They go to a hotel. Then Harry got letters at that hotel. And it explains they go to this little cottage in the freaking middle of an island.
Which they do in the book, or in the movie.
But not the hotel part.
Yeah, they left the hotel part out.
They just, after he's like, Dad's gone mad, hasn't he? And it cuts straight to that cottage in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. So they, so then the whole thing with Hagrid showing up there was pretty accurate, except for the fact that he was cooking sausages. Hagrid did. When Hagrid arrived, he was cooking sausages. He was trying to make tea. And, Vernon had bought them, they were chips and bananas, I think, for dinner. I think that was it.
Yeah.
And he was trying to start a fire with those. But all that happened was they just shriveled up. And he goes, we could do with a few of those letters, eh? And then, Harry had to go find a spot on the floor. Dudley slept on this old couch that was there. And then, of course, Hagrid showed up. He lit the fireplace and all of that.
Yep. And they got the description of his umbrella right in the movie too. It's pink.
It was a pink flowery umbrella in the book.
They left the flowers out.
They did. So, but Dudley getting his pig's tail was right and all of that.
But here's the thing. In the movie, they leave in the middle of the night. But in the book, they stay until the next morning.
Which it makes me kind of wonder how did the Dursleys get back to land if they took their boat?
Who cares? They'll find a way.
Like, I've always kind of wondered about that. Like, how did the Dursleys make it back to land? Because, I mean, they only spent the day in London to get all of Harry's things. So that when Harry got back to his house,
They're
no
back.
one would have been there.
Well, that's also something that's... Well, before we get to that, the whole thing in when they're going through
Diagon Alley.
Diagon Alley, they explain more on, getting books, explaining Hagrid getting Harry his owl, though he said, no, toads are old-fashioned, I'm allergic to cats. So he gave him an owl.
Yeah, that was his birthday gift to Harry, was an owl.
Yeah, and more of that, we get a scene with Draco in the book, which they never did in the movie, which is where Harry's fitting for new robes,
And this is his first run-in with Draco Malfoy.
And, like if you, when he's talking, at first you don't understand, but when he talks a little more than, oh, it's fucking Draco.
Yeah. So, the way that Draco's talking is, he's talking and Harry can already tell that he doesn't like this guy. And because, the way that the kid was talking, the way that Draco talks when you first meet Draco, is very condescending. Which, I will give credit to Draco that over the years he does change, especially during the last book, which, we'll get to that way later. But, the way that he talks, you can definitely tell that he grew up privileged. And obviously because his family has a lot of money. Harry has a lot of money too. He has a small fortune. But Harry has to make that last all 7 years of Hogwarts.
Yeah, and he pretty much does.
Yeah, and
But besides that, with those chapters, it explains more. Hell, it explains what Gringotts is, how secure the bank is, how you can't it's guarded by dragons. They don't explain what Gringotts is in the movie, but it explains more in the book.
Yeah.
And besides that, there's they were talking about Quidditch, and Harry doesn't know what it is, and Hagrid says it's our sport. And
he tries to explain it, but does a horrible job of explaining it.
And that's Hagrid for you. He tries.
Then Harry wanted to get a broom, but he's not allowed to have brooms.
And besides that, now we get to the part where, after they're done shopping and stuff, this is what's different from the book and the movie. And after they're done shopping, they do talk about Voldemort, which same in the book, movie, and the book. But this is here I'm going to mention it's different. In the movie, after they're done shopping, they're already at King's Cross. But in the book, it's still not the time to go to Hogwarts yet. So they get...
Because it's still the beginning or the end of July.
Yep.
Well, probably, it would have been on July. It would have been on Harry's birthday, July 31st. Definitely would have been his birthday.
Yeah.
Because Hagrid showed up at shortly after midnight on his birthday. So Harry still has a month to go before the train leaves from King's Cross, but it goes straight to King's Cross.
Yes.
But in the book, he had gone home and he had to ask his uncle for a ride to King's Cross, and his uncle's like, "Oh, what? Are all the magic carpets broken?" And Harry's like, "No, I just have to take the train from 11 a.m. from platforms 9 3/4." And they look at him and they're like, 9 3/4.
And because Dursley knows it doesn't exist.
But that's the thing, though. Petunia does know.
Yeah, but
we will get into that later too.
She wasn't going to say shit.
I know, because she just pretended like it didn't exist.
Yeah, and besides that, they take him, and Harry's trying to find it. He thinks he's going to be late, not going to go. And this is when we meet Mrs. Weasley and the Weasley family, which is kind of like in the book. She tells him where to do and stuff. But before he meets the Weasleys, Vernon said he had to go take Dudley to remove his tail.
Yeah, because the pig's tail, he said that he was trying to turn Dudley into a pig, but he was so much like a pig already that it didn't work. And so to go back to that scene, what they did in the book was Dudley wasn't eating the cake. So in the movie, he was like bent over eating Harry's birthday cake that Hagrid had brought for him. But in the book, he wasn't doing that at all. He was Vernon was just making fun of or insulting Albus Dumbledore. That's why he was trying to turn Dudley into a pig. So back to King's Cross.
But yes, they meet the Weasleys and Mrs. Weasley. They don't know who he is, like they do in the movie. They don't know who he is. So she showed them where to do, and they go through, and they're on the train. Then Ron comes, asks for, which same thing in the book.
Well, in the books, Fred and George helped Harry get his trunk onto the train.
Yeah.
And then they told his mom that, oh, hey, we saw Harry Potter. And then Ginny wanted to go see him, and she's like, no, poor boy. No wonder he didn't know what to do. But my theory is, which this is, I accept this theory. So, okay, so Mrs. Weasley has 7 kids. So she's been doing this for years, taking Bill, Charlie, Percy, and then the twins, now Ron, and then Ginny, all to King's Cross every year. So, what if she knew that Harry was going to be there, and so she was asking what the platform number is again, like to her children, loud enough that Harry could hear, even though they were in a place full of muggles.
That could be a good theory. Who knows?
And but then that doesn't really fit with what happens in the book.
But who knows? It's one of those things that Rowling never explained, or maybe she will someday in the future. But there's times you kind of wonder because since Molly and Arthur was part of the Order of the Phoenix, and I'm like,
they weren't. Yeah. And during the First War, they were not part of that.
No, they weren't. But still, it's just. But yeah, in the book, it mentions that tells Sirius you think Harry's like James, but we'll get to that later. But either way, it does get more. On the train is a little different because Ron is going through his stuff, stuff his mom packed, because he says, I don't like, corned
beef, I think it was, yeah.
And Harry's being a nice guy. He buys stuff from the trolley. And
he bought, everything from the trolley.
Yeah, and he
wanted to try as much stuff as he possibly can.
Yeah, and he gave some to Ron, being nice, and Ron's telling what it's like here and there, and
yeah, Ron's talking about how he inherited his brother Percy's pet rat, and he was talking about how all he does is sleep, and he was trying to make him, I know this by hand, so don't say anything. So he was trying to make the rat yellow, try to make Scabbers yellow, and it was Buttermellow, Sunflower Daisy's Buttermellow turned this stupid fat rat yellow. And, of course, nothing happened because, and the funny thing is, Hermione did come in right before he was to do that because Neville has lost his toad, which is true in both the movie and the book.
Yes.
And she's like, oh, you're doing magic? So let's see then. So then he does it. And then it just turns out, no, it was Sunshine Daisy's Buttermellow turned this stupid fat rat yellow. I mixed it up a bit. So, she's like, that's not real. That's not a real one. And so she, also Neville had shown up before she did looking for his toad.
Yeah, which is different from the book.
Yeah.
But either way, yes, they did the whole thing, fixing Harry's glasses and...
No, I don't think she fixed his glasses. Did she fix his glasses in the book?
I think so, because they say he still had tape around his...
No, I think no. She had said that she had practiced some spells at home, and they all worked for her, but she didn't fix his glasses.
Well, either way, they pretty much they're arriving. They change into their robes, but before that, you still get the chocolate frog thing.
Well, don't forget about Draco. Draco showed up.
Being the dick.
Yeah. And so basically, in the movie, that whole conversation that they had in the school actually happened on the train.
Yeah.
So then they get to Hogwarts, and they do cross the lake and everything. So the description, I don't like what they did with the Great Hall, because they did do the floating candles, but the ceiling of the Great Hall is supposed to match whatever it's like outside. So if it's supposed to be a sunny day, a sunny, clear day, then the ceiling will reflect that. But they didn't really do that in the movie.
No, they didn't.
I think they did it at nighttime, but they didn't do it during the daytime. And Harry has said many times in the morning where you'd look up at the ceiling and see that it's like an overcast day or whatever.
Yeah, and besides that, here's what it's different from the book is the Sorting Hat. The Sorting Hat will sing before he'll start selecting into your houses, and
they also were calling up students alphabetically and not just like randomly.
Yeah, and that's just a small minor detail. The scene where the Hat and Harry are talking, that is from the book, both book and
but they had the Sorting Hat. It sounded like the Sorting Hat was talking out loud and not in Harry's ear. I didn't like that.
Yeah, that's the one thing that's different is that. But besides that, we get everything that's going to be a little different from here now and on, like between Harry and Hermione and Ron. Halfway through the book, I wouldn't say halfway, maybe quarter way.
Maybe, yeah.
They're not friends at all. She's being a know-it-all. Ron's hating it.
It's Leviosa, not Leviosa.
And I think they start becoming more friends after the troll.
It was definitely after the troll they became friends.
But the part with Snape is it's different, but it's spot on from both book and movie. Because one, I like Alan Rickman, but in the book, I feel like Snape sounds more like, I wouldn't say like he wants to yell, like a yelly angry, like he's angry, but he wants to yell.
But Snape never really yelled in the books, though.
Yeah, that's just it. With Rickman, he's more like a calm, angry guy, just like. But then again, that could be his idea of his occlumency.
Well, so the thing with Alan Rickman though is that he knew about Harry, about the thing between Snape and Harry's mom from the very beginning of the series.
That is true.
He knew about Harry's mom and Snape being friends way before we even knew.
Yeah, and I have to say, Rowling must have been like, I had to give Rickman props, especially he had to honor Rowling's word not to say anything, but imagine to be like, like
because with that revelation, that's what made Alan Rickman portray Snape the way that he did, because he knew that information about Lily and Snape when they were children.
Yes, and here's something that's different from the book and the movie is the Remember Ball.
Remember all. Yes.
After Harry got it in the movie, McGonagall sees him, takes him to woods, and say, "Hey, I got you a new secret." That's it. But in the book, it explains they go into a broom cupboard, whatever it is, talk about, and since Harry's the first year, he can't play, but she's going to find a way to make an exception.
Yeah. So she buys him his broom, his first broom, and it told in the books it says don't open this at the table.
Yes.
But I think it actually came from, I think the note came from, no, he got the broom and then he got the note, he opened up the note, and I think the note was from Wood saying, hey, this contains your new broom, don't open this up at the table. So Harry and Ron take it up to, because this was even before he became friends with Hermione.
Yeah.
And they take it up to the dorm and they open it up. Or, well, Draco stops them. He's like, that's a broom. We're not allowed to have brooms. And Flitwick comes out, and Draco's trying to get Harry in trouble for it. And he's like, Harry's got a broom. And he's like, oh, yeah, Professor McGonagall told me all about your exception. And then they go up, they open it, and Hermione's like, pissed about it, too, because she's like, you should be rewarded for breaking school rules, and, all that.
Let's just say in the book, Hermione, in a good way, I guess what she's doing is good, but in the book, she's more
insufferable in the book.
She's more of a narc.
She's insufferable.
But it's in good tensions, I get it, but still, then we get to the part where there's Quidditch, and almost same in the book, but a little different,
Yeah.
But besides that, they said he's still caught in his mouth. But I do know we do get a little more Quidditch in the books because what was it? They have a couple games and Slytherin is always picking on Neville and Ron says you need to fight.
They got into a fight
and Neville helped and. That's in the book, never in the movie.
It was Ron, Neville, Draco, Crabbe and Goyle. Neville tried to take on Crabbe and Goyle single-handedly and got knocked out cold. But the thing with that, though, is like the whole broom enchanting thing where Quirrell was hexing Harry's broom. That actually happened. Then he caught it in his mouth and all that.
Yeah, and it's true, and there's also a part where Snape and Quirrell had a thing, like a little quarrel in the Forbidden Forest. Harry saw it after a Quidditch game and Goat, and the whole thing. But there's another thing. In the movie, we get Norbit, the dragon, but we only get one scene. That's it. They took him. But in the book, we have more.
Yeah. Harry, Ron, and Hermione were taking turns going down to Hagrid's cabin to help with Norbert. Well, when they finally did decide that they were going to send Norbert away because Malfoy found out about it, this is the thing. Ron was in the hospital wing at the time that Norbert was being sent away to Romania. It was Draco, Neville, Hermione, and Harry that ended up going into the Forbidden Forest. Ron had no part in this. Ron was in the hospital wing because he got bitten by Norbert.
Yeah, and they did that. This is around the time Harry got his invisible ability.
No, he got his invisibility cloak at Christmas.
That's what I'm saying. This is the time he has it. Because he got at Christmas. Mrs. Weasley made him a sweater. I think, was it green?
I think so, yeah.
Green because of his eyes. And Ron got one, and it was burgundy. Maroon, and he hates maroon.
Yeah.
But besides that, then we get the part, still more stuff, like, I do know there was one part where Harry gets a book, Quidditch of the Ages, from Hagrid.
No, that was a library book.
Well, either way, Snape took it, whatever, and
Harry wanted to go get it back, and he saw Snape's leg all mangled because he was trying to get past the three-headed dog.
Yeah,
so that was probably around Halloween time, though.
Yeah, that was around Halloween, and they also describe how Harry got the egg, Norbert, and say he won in a poker game, which I don't think they ever mentioned in the book, in the movie, but
he said he won him. Won him. I think in a poker game. I think they did mention it.
Yeah, in a poker game, and then they ask how to get behind a three-headed dog, and some guy in a pub. That was Hagrid, and sometimes Hagrid's not really good at keeping secrets.
He was drunk.
Yeah, he's not really good at keeping secrets.
Yeah, so then we get to the point where, it's the end of the year, near the end of the year, and they need to get into, past the three-headed dog. So they find out from Hagrid that he told the man just to, play a little bit of music and he'll fall right to sleep. Now, in the movie at Christmas, or in the book at Christmas time, Harry got a flute from Hagrid that sounded like an owl. Well, when they go to Fluffy, there was a harp, but in the movie, the harp was still playing, and then they were able to jump down. But when they got there, the harp wasn't playing anymore, and Harry played the flute to put him back to sleep.
And it's true, they did. And they had to take turns. He tells Ron and Hermione in the book, no, just go on. No, they decided to...
Harry does drop first.
Yeah, and they landed in the... Now, here's the thing that's going to be different in the book. When they're trying to go get the stone, they're going to go through obstacles created by the professors of...
Some of the professors, yeah.
Like, say, the Devil's Snare, which will be...
Herbology.
Madame Pomfrey.
No, that was Professor Sprout.
Professor Sprout. I don't know why I'm... Either way...
Pumphrey is the nurse.
Nurse. And that's also different in the book. We get more time in the nurse in the book than in the movie somehow.
Yeah.
But besides that, then it gets to the keys, which is also from the book. Is Madame McGargle?
No, that's Flitwick.
Flitwick.
But the thing is, in the movie, the keys attacked Harry. In the book, they didn't. Harry, Ron, and Hermione had to fly around through the keys trying to find the one that they needed.
Yeah, and they did. And
then there was the troll, which was Quirrell.
And Quirrell is like in the a little bit like in the movie, but it explains why he's so skittish. Is because in the book he spent a year or so with vampires,
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Either way, besides that, once they got through the troll, it was
McGonagall's chess table or chessboard.
Yes. Now here's the thing: in the book, in the movie, book, I think in the book,
he did do everything. In the movie was the same as in the book.
But
he was a knight, Harry was a bishop, and I think Hermione was a queen or a castle.
Well,
something like that.
Either way, after they checked, Hermione went with Harry until they get to the part where the potions is.
Yeah, but she left the potions out of the book.
No, the potions was in the book.
Was they?
Yeah. Oh. Remember, because they had to pick a potion because of a fire. And they had to pick...
No, not in the book, in the movie.
Yeah, in the book.
The potions weren't in the movie.
Yeah, see, this is what's different. They left out the troll and the potions in the movie. Mm-hmm. And after that, and it had to be Harry because there's only one vial. Because the others could be poisons, not the right one. And Hermione told him, no, you have to go.
Well, with the potion, though, there wasn't going to be enough for both of them. Because Quirrell had already drank from it.
Yeah, and...
So Harry was the only one that had to go. So when they were trying to go get the Philosopher's Stone or the Sorcerer's Stone, whichever one, it was Harry, Ron, and Hermione. It was them three, okay?
Yeah, and Harry got to the part where Quirrell is. They had their scuff. And I do know they're staying in front of the mirror, what's it called?
Mirror of and I think they call it Erised.
Yes.
I've always pronounced it as Erised, but it's the Mirror of Erised.
But that's also one thing in the book. The Mirror of Erised, that's when we have more time with it. In the movie, it only shows Harry and his mom and dad. But in the book, it shows him, mom and dad, the family that he wanted. And here's I like in the book is like when Professor Dumbledore says, Professor, what do you see when you're looking in the mirror? He's like, every time I look in the mirror, I see someone hand me wool socks. And I'm like...
Yeah, because I guess everybody just keeps giving him books.
yeah, and I'm like...
But then Harry's like, well, maybe that wasn't entirely truthful. Because knowing what we know from the 7th book with Dumbledore's family.
Yeah,
I can definitely see it being something different than Woolsocks, but we'll never know because
it never explained.
Never shared that.
But after, like I said, they show Voldemort's, like you said, in the movie and book, head in the back of Quirrell's head, face in the back of Quirrell's head. They did that, and after that, they had their tussle. Then next time Harry's in the
infirmary,
and Dumbledore and Harry are talking and about. But this is what's different because in the book in the book and movie Harry thought it's Snape trying to get the snow, but he's like no, and he's like, why did he save me or whatever, whatever it is. I wouldn't say save, but still, it's like because back then your dad saved Snape and he felt like he had to owe a debt. They never said that in the movie, but in the book they did.
Mm-hmm. So, when the book ended, they were back on the train and they arrived at King's Cross. Well, in the movie, they just ended it, them getting back on the train to go back to London.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Because once Harry gets back, he said he was going to have fun with Dudley because he said he was going to do magic on him. And Hermione's like, you're out of school. You can't do magic out of Hogwarts. He's like, well, they don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
This is part is different. Hagrid tells, say, hey, if you ever run into your cousin, you can give him a matching ear. You can give him some ears to match that tail of his. He's like, Hagrid, I can't do magic out of school. You know that. But your cousin doesn't. That's a little different, but still, Harry had that idea, not Hagrid.
Yeah. So, so it was the movie followed the book fairly well, but not entirely.
Nah.
I think maybe it was Chamber of Secrets that followed the book better.
Well, I do know.
We'll get into that much later.
I do know there was also a part with the mirror again. Ron told him in the book, you shouldn't go back there because even he said, like Dumbledore says, you can go mad. They did do that in the movie, but that was another deleted scene they cut out.
Yeah, because he does take Ron, and Ron says that he just sees himself and he's holding, like, a Quidditch trophy in the House Cup because he's, the best of them all.
And head boy and stuff.
Yeah.
Which he does in the...
Which, if you think about it, he does become the best of them all because he helps save, the world during the 7th book.
Yeah. So either way, if you like the books or the movies, here's the thing. If you're going to go see a movie that's based on your favorite book, favorite comic, favorite manga, it's not always going to be a shot by shot of everything. Some are going to have to change because of entertainment, timing, budgeting. Who knows?
So, the only movie that I have actually seen that was based off of a manga that followed the manga real well has been Demon Slayer. When I went to go see Mugen Train here recently because I finished the manga here a few months ago, anticipation for the Infinity Castle movie that's coming out in September. Well, it comes out in Japan in July or later on this month, and then it comes out here, worldwide in September. And the only difference was that in the manga, Rengoku does not say set your heart ablaze, and then there's a scene that's flipped in the movie compared to the manga, but it is pretty much a shot by shot. That's the only thing that I've seen that's been. Oh, and from what I've heard, I went to go see the live action version of How to Train Your Dragon, and from what my friend has said that has seen both movies, is that it's a shot for shot version of the animated version. So I don't see why it's so hard for some people or some studios to not do something like that when they obviously can. Now I can understand you have to cut some things out or whatever, but cut out things that aren't going to be so important to the movie because what they did with, I know you want to say something, but hold on. What they have done to Ron in the movies was they massacred him so badly. Because all of Ron's good qualities, which we will get into later on, but all of Ron's good qualities were given to Hermione. And I didn't like that.
And it's true. And like when it came to the Wizarding World in the book, Ron knew more about the Wizarding World than Hermione. Somehow in the movie, she knew a lot about, and yet,
Yeah.
and you're born in the Muggle world, and yet I'm like,
I mean, I could maybe see her getting a lot of her information from books, but she didn't find out that she was a wizard until just like recently, anyways.
was she? Well,
or a witch.
Yeah, witch. So.
Witch wizard. They use that word interchangeably.
Who knows? Either way, but I do know in the book, I think they described Professor McGonagall in her almost in her 50s or late 50s or so.
I don't even think she was that old. I mean, she was old enough to teach Harry's parents when they were in school, and they died in their early 20s. And so then 10 years later, so Snape would have been in his 30s when Harry showed back up.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say she's probably in her 60s, because I think she was born in the 30s.
Well, either way, but I've seen the new actress who's going to be playing her, and I'm like, yeah.
Well, in the book, they did describe her as a witch with black hair.
Which they did not do.
Which in the movie Maggie Smith.
I tried her.
Did an amazing job at portraying McGonagall. But I feel like she was a bit old for the role.
Well, I can see that, but still, she did bring the charm and qualities of her. So.
Yeah. And then the actors that they got to play James and Lily, like when you see them as adults, also too old. Because they were in their 20s when they were 21, I do believe, when they passed away. And Gary Oldman was probably too old to play Sirius Black. The other guy that played Lupin was probably too old to play Lupin, because they're all supposed to be in their 30s.
Now,
they could probably get away with David. I don't even know. I can't even pronounce his last name. The guy that played Remus, I can see them getting away with him because they did say that Remus looked a little older than he actually was.
Yeah. Now hear me this. Who agrees that there should be something on the Marauders?
I need information on the Marauders because I need to know how Lily and James got together. I need to know, and I'm not getting this information from anybody. And this is information I need. I also want something on the Founders.
That, with the Founders, they should make into a show kind of like Game of Thrones, but a little different, you know? I'm just saying that could work, but come on, Hollywood. We're giving you gold here.
Give us fucking something on the Marauders. Because I need...
You can make it a miniseries.
I need to know how Lily and James got together. Because it was never explained in the books. They never really said in the movies. All they just said was that...
He was just...
James' ego deflated during their 7th year and they got together. Okay, well, how? What did he do? So the only thing that I could think of is James became head boy. Lily was probably head girl. So then they started, but Hagrid did say that the head boy and head girl in their time. So they were probably spending a lot of time together, and that's probably how they got together. But I need to be able to see it happen.
But either way, who knows? If you like both book movies, put in the comments down below, or if you just prefer the book or the movie more. Like I said, I like both, so I'm not going to choose.
I mean, I definitely like the book more. I've read these books multiple times over. I own multiple copies of the books. I'm a big Harry Potter fan. Like I said, I've been reading these books since I was 13 years old. I'm 38 now. I'll be 39 next month. So I've been reading these books for literal years. And I do not regret anything.
Nope.
These series, like, a lot of people have said this, and it might be like hyperbole or whatever, but this series literally saved my life when I was growing up. Because if I was able to, like, lose myself in books, I read a lot of books growing up just because I was a lonely child. I didn't have friends, many friends in my household, or my life was kind of abusive. So these books and books in general saved my life. So this is a series that's near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, it's
So
it's one thing that touched everyone's. Now, like I said, this is going to be a new series we're going to be starting. So when we do, we're going to do the Chamber of Secrets. Then we're going to go to Azkaban, the whole 9 yards.
yeah.
Like I said, if you like the books, movies, put in the comments down below. Like and subscribe. We're at 71 now. Check out our shorts and our other stuff we got. And we're thinking about doing some, maybe rating some donuts in the future, or go to.
There's a little Japanese market that's not too far from where I live. It's about 20 minutes from where I live, and we are planning on going there one of these days and getting some. Mike hasn't really had a whole lot of Japanese food in his life, so we're gonna go over there, get some snacks, get some of their food that they have, and rate those as well. Just do like a little taste test. I pretty much know what I'm getting myself into because I go there like all the time. I just went on Wednesday, so.
She got me some of their plum wine. Some of the plum wine.
Yeah, he's had some plum wine. I did buy him some plum wine last time I went, and then he did have one of the sweet bean paste, sweet red bean paste, roll that I brought in. So, it's called koshi, I do believe. Sweet red bean paste inside the roll, and
Yeah.
he had a taste of it, and he seemed to like it.
Yeah, and like I said, just like and subscribe, and we'll get back to you. What's our next week's hint?
So next week's hint is insert quarter. So we'll just see if you guys can figure out what we're going to talk about next week. So
All right.
we will see you guys later. Bye.
Bye.